Okay. Says we're live. Let me check the YouTube. Okay. Says we are live on YouTube. Let me turn this down. Okay. Hello everyone.
Hello,
I
hello.
hope
Hello.
everyone is doing well. Um I have my internet friends with me, Ashley H and Valerie. Um guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell the people a little bit about yourselves before we get into the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So excited to be here. Thank you so much. So I am a women's coach. I have been in coaching for over 10 years, specifically working with women for the last about 5 years. I work with women specifically, usually that tend to come from a little bit more of a tougher background, or maybe they are, maybe in the working world, corporate world, where they're really in their masculine energy, and teaching them how to make that transition and how to be just as successful out in the world, but really embracing who they are as a woman and their femininity, and how life is just so much better when we get to embrace our true nature.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me and why I'm here, and just want to help other women on their journey to getting closer to themselves.
Nice, nice. What about you, Valerie? Go ahead.
So, um, I found my femininity myself. And then I ran into Ashley, and she has been very great supportive for me because I was one of those rough women. I grew up on the streets of California, and it was about survival.
Hmm.
You had to be tough, you had to be rough. There was, just nothing soft was expected of you. It was a different type of lifestyle. So um, Ashley just embraced me, and she's like been a mentor. Um, so I also like to encourage other women in their roughness. You see so many hurt women that just display just like just so toxic, but they don't realize they don't have to be. They don't
Right.
have to be. They just don't know no other way. So I just like to encourage other women to come into their softness. And a lot of women believe when you're so tough that being soft is a weakness. And it's
Mhm.
actually the opposite. It really is. There's so much power in being soft and loving and knowing that you're tough on the inside, and you can handle yourself in so many other ways.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
Right. And how did
I
y'all
love it.
meet?
Same,
it,
same way.
Oh,
Actually, on
yeah,
Instagram, yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
and
a new
we hit
way
it
of
off.
forming relationships nowadays. That's pretty
Yes.
cool. And how long have y'all known each other?
Wow, how long do you think it's been?
oh
Just this
gosh,
past
it's
year, right?
yeah, yeah. Since like COVID came in, and
Mm-hmm.
people started to be online more.
Hmm.
I think so. It's probably about a year, a good year,
Yeah,
that
good
we
solid
really
year.
just, yeah, really connected.
Yep.
Nice. I've also met quite a few women online as well, and I think maybe back in the day that maybe was weird, the
Yeah.
online
Mm-hmm.
dating and forming friendships online. But now, I feel like it's the new normal. Sometimes you may feel closer to the people online than you do, in your real life. But it's cool because,
Yeah.
thanks to the internet and social media, you get to meet people that you would have never met before. Like you guys would have never met
Absolutely.
each other, and I would have never met you guys. And I'm so
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have met Ashley. We've had some conversations behind the scenes, and I asked her, I said, do you have a friend that's like us, that's been through some of the similar things that we've been through with escaping the trap of masculinity and trying to be
Yes.
more feminine, trying to be more, valuable to other people. And so that's when she brought you along. So I'm so happy to have met you. I like to meet just like meeting like-minded women, because in my real life, and Ashley agrees, it's so hard to
Really
meet
is.
women that think like we do, you know? So,
Yeah.
like I said, thanks to the internet, you know, all you got to do is type in a hashtag, hashtag femininity, hashtag submission, and you see all these women posting about it. I think that's how I found your page, Ashley. So,
Probably,
yeah,
yes. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I echo that completely. I mean, I I too do find it really difficult, to find women that are on the same mindset, not even just within themselves, but when it also comes to relationships, things
mhm,
like that too.
right.
And so that is absolutely the gift of the internet and social media for sure, is getting to find your tribe, because sometimes your tribe isn't right next to you.
I love that.
And
Right.
yeah, and it's nice to be able to, especially when you're in a community of women that's very positive and forward moving, very about ownership and accountability. That is something that you are going to have a hard time finding in your day to day. And
Mm,
so having that accountability and community is so powerful.
right. Right.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
agree.
And so,
I
ladies, we're going to jump into it. Okay. So
Yeah.
the topic for tonight is, what is a high value wife slash woman? And I thought this topic would. Um, I thought I'd start off with this topic because I feel like it's good for the foundation. Um, because I see women online, you know, claiming to be high value. You know, I'm a high value woman because I make this amount of money, and you know, I have these degrees, you know, I'm strong, you know, I'm independent. And so I wanted to, what I want to do, and this is where my husband helped me, because my husband, he loves Googling words. It's very important that, you know, he uses the correct meaning of the word. So I think it's self-explanatory what high means, but I thought, to lay the foundation for this conversation, we would define what value means. So the definition of value, according to the Oxford Dictionary: the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Once again, that is the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. So when something is high value, that means um, it adds an extremity to the definition. So this is extremely valuable, what we're talking about. So when we talk about a high value woman, the definition uses the word usefulness, meaning what she brings can be used. So based on the definition of value, and we'll start with you, Ashley, how would you define a high value woman slash man?
Yeah. So when I think, actually, when I think about the word value in the sense of like how high value woman, I actually think of like the word standards come to mind for me.
Mhm.
And what that really says to me is a woman that carries herself with really high standards and the highest respect, for herself, for others, and how she moves through the world. And also in the sense of she's not meeting anyone else's expectations but her own, so she holds herself to that highest level of showing up. And what I really love about that is it's something that actually kind of pulls on that little bit of masculinity that all women have within them, which is, like with men, masculine men, they are usually on their purpose regardless of what's going on around them, whether it's their environment, their situation, the woman they're with. Men stay focused on their purpose, and I think that that is something that women, high value women, really carry into their lives, is holding themselves to this high standard regardless of who they're with, the environment or situation that they're in. They know who they are, and they're not going to lower their standards for anyone or any situation. And I think that that's something that is really powerful that you see with a lot of what you would call like an alpha female, in the world, right? And so, like, for example, like I would consider myself an alpha female, and both of you as well. And it's not necessarily the aggression or the masculinity that comes with being an alpha female. An alpha female is you're confident, you're sure about yourself, you know exactly who you are and what you stand for, what's important to you, what you will and won't tolerate, and you know all of that with clear decisiveness. There
Mhm.
is no I'm on the fence about any of it. You've thought long and hard and put that work into yourself. And
Mhm.
so when you take that time to really get honest, Ashley, you and I had a really great conversation about this, right?
Mhm.
Getting really honest. And Val, whew, you and I had some really good deep ones about this
Mm-hmm.
too, is
Mhm.
getting clear and honest about who you are and where you're at, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Because until you get really honest about where you are and what's going on, you're not going to be able to start making strides to be the woman that you want to be.
Right.
And so it really starts with that foundation.
Yeah.
And high value women do that. They
Mhm.
have no problem being honest, taking the critiques and criticisms and utilizing that to make herself better. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes, you gotta take your L and be a little,
Yeah.
but at the end
Mhm.
of the day, know that all those things are just feedback for you to become even better, to
Yeah.
show up better the next day. And then truly when it comes to like high value wives, I think that the biggest thing that I notice with high value wives is they 100% come from a place of service with their spouse. They they understand the value of pouring into a man, and a man that they love and respect and that loves and respects them back, because only when you're in a true partnership with a man like that, when you pour in from a heart of service, you are going to get tenfold back out of that man. And I think that a lot of women miss that concept when they are thinking about relationships. A lot of women are looking at what they can get versus what they can give. And
Mhm.
I think that really shows up differently when you look at relationships with high value, men and women. And then just in general, when you're looking at the overall interaction between men and women as well. Women that hold themselves to a high caliber attract men that hold themselves to a high caliber, not even romantically, but they have a respect for men in general. And I think that that really shows up also in their marriages.
Mhm. Nice, nice. I like what you said. The way you worded it. You said that high value women hold themselves to a high standard. But when I hear women out here defining high value woman, it's having high standards, not holding yourself to a high standard. And so, and Ashley, I think you're frozen. Is she frozen on your end, Valerie?
Yes. Yes, she
Okay.
is.
Okay. Well, hopefully it'll okay, there you
Right
are.
there.
Um yeah, so so women, what I hear out here in Twitterverse and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, these female content creators, they say that being a high value woman is having high standards, not holding yourself to a high standard. So it focuses, that's why I'm glad that you said it like you said it, that that's high value, because if you're going to bring high value to the table, you have to hold yourself to a high standard. You can't just focus on having high
Yeah.
standards without
Absolutely.
being that being that standard.
Yeah.
And and then for the wife, you also said holding yourself to a high caliber. So yeah, so even in your marriage, because some women who are single, they can practice being high value before they meet the man. But for us who maybe we got married and we're trying to better
Mhm.
ourselves, we kind of have to learn how to we have to catch on, you know what I mean? And so it's important that in your marriage, if you realize, like you said, being honest with yourself about where you are, giving yourself the cold and honest truth about who you are. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you lie, if you manipulate, if
Mhm.
your
Amen.
hygiene isn't as good, if you're not really doing the things that you're supposed to do, that has to be the foundation. That has to be where you start. You have to start off being honest with yourself. This is where I am, you know? And it's not something that you have to go sharing with everybody, but I mean, but between you and God, you have to be honest. You have to say, this is who I am. And yes, it's ugly. It's not pretty, but I want to work on it. I want to become more valuable. to my husband or my future husband, the people around me. So yeah, I think what you said is super important as far as one, being honest with yourself, and two, holding yourself to a high standard versus focusing on having those high standards. You want to have standards, but start with you first. Make sure you are the standard before you go
Absolutely.
having high standards. So, Valerie, did you have something you want to add to that?
See, I don't have a partner. I'm divorced. So, and I didn't hold myself, I held myself high, but I didn't instill those standards within me. I worked hard. It was about the money. It was about the perception. I was lost in the world of perception of like social media, how these women say high value, and it's about me, and me getting this and me getting that.
Mm-hmm.
Things changed big time. I have daughters, and I have been a hawk, a protector, and so I made them. I believe my influence made them a bit tough, a bit too tough, and I started to notice that they were being too tough,
Right.
and so that created in me to look deep inside, and it was scary. It was like revealed to me all that I don't want to be revealed. It took me going deep over and over to pull out that junk that I wanted to hide, that I wanted nobody to know, that I didn't want to be resurfaced. But I had to let that come out so I could clear that up and become valuable, hold those standards for myself. It takes a lot. It really does. It takes a lot to go deep and look yourself in the mirror and know what you were and what you are now and what you want to be.
Right.
So having my daughters changed, as I seen them start to get a little too rough because I was so masculine and protector. I was mother, father, and
With their father in the home, were you still like that?
oh, he was, but he was so into his career, like he worked 7 days a week. 7 days a week, he traveled. He was gone for months. I mean, it was a relationship that was destined to fail because of the way we worked. It was about having things. We grew up with nothing, and so we were glamorized into just being just working. So while he was away, I was mother, father, protector, everything.
Right.
But things are slowly changing. Things are changing.
Well, good. It's just oh, I love being around honest women that can just so honestly about where they went. You guys don't, I mean, you're such a breath of fresh air. I feel like when I'm talking to my associate, man, it's like talking to this wall behind me. I mean, they, and no shade to my associates, but it's lonely. I was telling my husband the other day, it's lonely, like not being able to, like, because he's the only one that I can talk to. But I mean, even he gets tired of hearing my mouth
Yeah.
about this stuff. And so I feel like as women, we do need that community. We do need other women that we can connect with, where we think alike on what truly matters, the building blocks. So to not be able to have that, but to now have it, and to hear you ladies speak, it's such a breath of fresh air. I mean, even down to you, Valerie, we're talking about your marriage, and even how you were with your kids, and how it messed up your kids. You have no idea, or maybe you do, how many women will not admit their fault in how their kids turned out, how their marriage turned out. It's just it just, at least for me, it feels rare to talk to women that can honestly just say, I messed up.
truly, there's women that just want to push everything under the rug or not speak of it, hide it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When I am comfortable and around like-minded women, there's nothing I need to hide.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if they have a different perspective, share it with me. Teach me a different way of seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not seeing it that way, and maybe you could open my eyes to a different way, and it's a different way of learning.
Right.
And then we have these, women that are not like us, and they judge.
Mm-hmm.
And they go behind your back and they say, did you know this, that? And I have women that I work in a law firm, and women come to me, and I'm like, stop. I don't want to hear that. That's none
Oh,
of my
talking
business.
about their
Yeah,
husband.
co-workers, husbands. I'm like, I'm here to work. I don't have time for that. That just like, what's your purpose?
Yeah.
What is your
Energy
purpose?
out of here.
Yeah,
Yes,
really.
I love that.
It's quite annoying
Mm-hmm.
when that's where they think their value is. It is just in communicating in gossip.
Right.
And I'm like, no, let's talk about life. Let's talk about, expanding our minds. Let's talk about this. Let's
Be
talk about that.
optimistic.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you're wearing me
Which is a
down.
feminine trait, by the way, guys. Optimism.
Oh,
Yes,
Uh, but Valerie,
yes.
I wanted to ask you the same question. You know, what how would you break down what a high value woman slash wife is?
a high value woman is one who carries herself, who cares what she instills in her, what she reads, what she talks about, who she talks to. Um, Everything in her life has value and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's a purpose for everything. Um, the way I take my baths, a lot of women don't understand that. I'll take a bath once a week, and that is nurturing to me. That is value to me. That is keeping me in my softness,
Mm-hmm.
because especially in this time, it's so easy to be tough and rough. And I'm a gun owner, so I have guns throughout my house, and people are like, why do you have that? Well, they don't see me that way. Well, you don't know me that way, but that's my protection. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to take a lot of steps in being value to myself in my feminine essence. It's the way I dress, the way what I'm communicating, what I'm reading, what I'm taking in. It's a whole lot for
Mm-hmm.
me. For me, it is because my masculinity was so tough and strong in my life
Someone,
that
hold on one second, Valerie. Someone in the comments is saying what happened. It's blank. Are y'all
Oh, I can
blank to
see.
you guys?
I could see.
Okay. I don't know. I can see too. I got my YouTube up here, so I'm not sure. Okay. Carry on, Valerie. Sorry about that.
So, and it's not about the money or um, what other people think of you. It's you, your values, and your values are what's true to your essence. Like, my values are my family, my girls, my children. My job has value to me
Mhm.
because it's the way I make my living. And in my job, I'm full of, it's masculinity. It's very, very strong and very, very educated men. So even my essence has to be in line, in my alignment, so I don't jump into that role again, because it's easy to. I walk into a meeting and everybody's bickering, you know, and it's okay, calm down, don't bicker, don't yell, don't scream, and yet I could still get my point across and get things done.
Mhm.
So those are the types of values that I'm learning to instill, to keep on and keep feeding myself.
Mhm. And I like how you talk about, because The few ladies that I've talked to who are single, who ask about, wanting to, just inquiring on what it takes to, be a good wife. That's one of the things that I've talked to them about, was even using your work as practice, people in your life, like you said. um, I'm able to I'm able to you know, be feminine around people, and I'm able to practice being peaceful and uplifting and optimistic. And these are the things that can attract a husband. These are qualities that you can bring into your marriage, that is going to enhance your marriage, that is going to produce a long lasting marriage. So even for, single women like yourself, that's what you should be doing. You want to practice really good habits,
Mm-hmm.
so that when the next man comes around, um, you've become a better person because of how you were doing life before he came along. So
Absolutely.
so I just thought that that was a perfect example of that. For single women, if don't just like be out here just looking for a husband. Make sure that um, you are the type of person that a husband would want to marry, and the best way to do that um, is to focus on the people in your life, focus on treating them with respect, being encouraging, being loving, being cooperative with people, practicing being more diplomatic, really practicing those good habits so it becomes a part of your personality. So, like I said, when that man does come along, you're not you're not putting on like this fake phony personality to
Absolutely.
trick him to the altar. It's become a part of who you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, um, my definition of a high value woman slash wife, and and what I'm about to say, it really goes for both the wife and the woman, but and keeping that definition of mine, because you want to be useful. If you're valuable, that means that you are useful to somebody. It's not about your money, it's not about your degrees, it's not about the things that just serve you, but it's
Mhm.
about serving others. Um, but the first thing I made a little list here. The first thing I wrote down was, being disciplined, meaning that you have trained yourself to obey rules, or you have a code of behavior that you follow. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying to you, Valerie, that you are already this person when he arrives. So
Mhm.
you need to discipline yourself. You need to have in mind what you need to become to add value, and you need to work on becoming that. And if you're already married and you're not high value, you need to, and you already have your husband, so you already know what he needs. So you need to work, you need to really put in a lot of effort to become that. And it's going to take discipline. You have to be disciplined, um whether you want to exercise, you want to lose weight, you want to eat, more healthier, you want to be, sweeter to your husband, you want to, give him more affirmations every day, you want to keep the house more cleaned, you want to carve out time consistently for your husband and your kids. When you start this stuff, this isn't something that you want to start doing 1 week or 2 weeks and then you fall off and you forget about it, kind of like the New Year's resolution. So you need to build discipline. That's very important in changing, your character. And Ashley, by the way, I love your husband's page. By the way, if you're listening, follow Masculinity Mastered. Because
Yes.
when I even men, and I follow men like him in the manosphere, and the how they help men, I kind of take that with me as a woman, in getting to the gym, and just being more centered in your masculine. I kind of take that and I filter it and make it like the womanly version of it. Um so yeah, being more disciplined, being respectful, um she respects herself and carries herself with dignity. She also respects those around her. So practicing showing respect for others is another personality trait that you are going to need in order to add value to other people, be it your husband. And even if you have kids, when they see how much of a respectful person you are, they take on those same habits. And Valerie, like you were saying, um, you did things, the wrong way, and your
Mhm.
daughters picked up on that.
Uh-huh.
So now when you reverse it and you do things the right way, your daughters will also pick up on that. And they're still not too old to learn because, Valerie, I love your energy. I don't know who you were before. I just know who you are right now. And, you seem really, really lovely. And if your daughters are around you, they're going to pick up on that. And
Mhm.
so, for women out there who don't have a husband yet, or for women out there who have a husband and kids, practice being respectful, work on those inner qualities so that it will exude out. um
Absolutely. I do get a lot of questions from single women like, how could you not be so lonely? And I'm like, I never said I don't get lonely,
mhm.
but I'm not going to fall into a trap and just give my attention to a man for a night.
Yeah.
That that's
That's right.
that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. My value is something deeper and bigger. And then I also get men who are just dogs, just why don't you show your body more? Why don't you? Who are you? You are not going to tell me how to live and what to post on my social media.
Oh my god.
And sometimes then it goes on to like, okay, if you continue, then I'm going to blast you and let everybody know that you're a pervert. So either leave or stop.
Mhm.
But I also love Ashley's husband's page, and I share his page all the time. It's for those men who follow me. I'm like, here's the info. Here is some guidance. Go. Here, I'm handing it to you. Just
Mhm.
take it. But yeah.
And by the way, Ashley, something else that's so funny. Okay, so I was looking at your husband's page, right? And my husband was next to me, and I was telling him that this is the husband of the girl that I was talking to. And or this is his page, and he said, okay, somebody else trying to copy Kevin Samuels. And I'm like, nope, babe, because look, he was doing this way before Kevin Samuels had that viral video, the average at best
Mhm.
video. Nope, he was on it way before. So I appreciate it. It really says a lot about your husband in that he saw the need before the need went viral. The
Yes.
need for masculinity went viral after Kevin Samuels got on the scene and really started gaining a lot of traction. So I'm like, yep, nope, babe, he was here. Nope, he was here before all that. He already saw what was needed and was
Mhm.
fulfilling that need. So um
Yes.
so that I do really appreciate about him without even knowing him, that you know he saw
Yeah,
something that other people didn't see years ago. So
absolutely. And I think that, and it's not necessarily even like just, on the online world or like through social media.
mm,
It's like I'm very fortunate, and he's someone that's been very on his purpose for a very long time, even before I was part of the picture, which is a part of what draws that attraction in, right? Is someone that's driven and on their purpose and knows what's important. And I think that it's really powerful too to recognize that it's important to have that balance, even on both ends of your relationship. And that's the same thing with women. And something that I was taught is that you should teach your partner everything that you know. It's important, right? To share
mhm,
that information, to share that wisdom and knowledge. And
mm,
so, when you start working on yourself as a woman, it's your right and responsibility to help out your man, because
yeah,
just because you're on your path with your feminine, every person, man or woman, has both masculine and feminine energy
Mhm.
within themselves. And we know, look at the world. Men need a little bit more balance, women need a little bit more balance.
mm,
And as you're doing your work on yourself as a woman and really tapping into your femininity and getting a really deep understanding of what that is, use that gift of your femininity. Val, you're talking about, your story of walking into a meeting with a bunch of men and they're bickering and this and
Mhm.
that. I just I just gave 10 years of my life to corporate America working in the finance industry, and it's predominantly male dominated, and I can completely relate to that. And I used to walk in my masculine energy because I needed to show up to sit at the table with these men,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? And like you have to, and if you, man, if you even like shake a little bit, they're like sharks. You've lost all your credit as a woman. What
Right.
I've learned, especially over the last, probably 4 or 5 years for sure, and having a really supportive partner is helpful with that too, especially in that journey of getting to really discover and get comfortable and confident within your feminine, is that I'm actually twice as powerful when I show up in my feminine energy into a room full of men.
Mhm.
I can get to places that they can't get. I can say things that they can't say, and I can change their perspective and have them look at things in a way that they might not have looked at before, because
Mhm.
I have the ability to really bring everything down in the room. And
Yeah.
so like you're talking about, Val,
Absolutely.
that, femininity is not weakness. You're right. It's such
Mhm.
a gift. It's such a gift. And women have been doing it forever. If you look through
Yeah.
history, using your
Yes.
femininity to bring men to their knees. That's the point of being a woman, to
Mhm.
be in your goddess divine energy,
Yeah.
right? Is to
Absolutely.
embrace that
Yes.
power and
Mhm.
know what that is. And at the same time, it's also a gift to men to teach them and help them get closer to their hearts too. And that's how you start to have a more balanced masculine, and you get the better flow and balance in your relationships.
Yeah. And you're more likable too when you walk into the room and you're feminine versus trying to be, masculine. Because when you walk into a room full of masculine men, it's like there's already no balance. You just walk into like a big fire, but your
Mhm.
femininity is almost like water that balances it out. And I will say the men that I've heard talk about these things all say that um, that is something about when a feminine woman walks into the room. She's just likable. Like, when she looks good, when she smells good, when she's well put together, when she's articulate, and then she brings whatever gift she has to the table to offer the company, but she brings the femininity with her. It's like a new flavor that they enjoy. They enjoy having a pretty lady walking around the office that brings value to the company but isn't masculine. It's a joy to have her around. But when you coming out of the gate just swinging and
Yeah.
trying to be a man, like you think that I got to be like them in order to prove that I belong. I mean, it really sets you back. It really does you a disservice. You don't get to use that gift that they don't have. So when you come in and you're in your masculine, deep down inside, you're not liked. It puts men more on the defense
Mhm.
when you're masculine. And I've even heard more so than when a man comes in and he's masculine, because when a man comes in, see, when a man gets beat by a man, it's like, yeah, it's embarrassing, but it's not more embarrassing than getting beat by a woman. So when a woman comes in and she's in her masculine, it's even more, he's even more on the defense, because it's like I can't let her, but when she comes in and she's feminine, it's very disarming. And so, and I get that where I get this information, guys, is I listen to a lot of men. I don't listen to a lot of women, because women what I found with women is they either lie or they are severely misinformed. And I have been misguided quite a bit by women. But when I started listening to men, I feel like I have more, I feel like I have deeper insight. I feel like I have a better understanding of things, and things have just worked out better. And so, even the office/company analogy, even when you hear it, it just sounds right. It just makes sense. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so, um, Valerie, like you said, that femininity is so important, and it's a weapon that a lot of women are not, they're not using it. And it's sad because it's powerful.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And so another trait that I wanted to talk about was also being nurturing. And the definition of nurturing is to care for and encourage the growth and development of. And usually, when you hear about the word nurture, you typically think of a baby, and it fits perfectly with a baby, caring for, encouraging the growth and development of, because that's what babies need. But also men need that same thing. They need to be cared for, meaning they need love, they need affection, they need encouragement, and they need growth and development. And as women, when you come into a man's life, you can inspire him to grow. You can be an inspiration to him. You can be that little angel on his shoulder that's telling him, babe, like, you got this. Or babe, what are you waiting on? Like, let's go for it. Like, let's do it. Like, they got nothing on you. You got this, you're that. Like, are you kidding? Like, what are you waiting on? You would totally kill that business. You would, being encouraging and giving him, the love, that he needs on top of it, the stroking of the ego, highlighting his traits, talking about um things that are good about him, and how um, those things can work for what he wants. That's what I think of when I think of nurturing a man. And so, for a high value woman slash wife, um, for a woman, you can do that in your work setting. You can do that with your family and your friends, adding value to other people, but also keeping in mind that, I'm becoming this person because I want to add value to them, but also for my future husband, this is who I want to be. So I'm developing these habits. And then, even as a wife, maybe you realize, hey, I'm not doing that as much, or I'm just not doing it at all. Become more nurturing to him. Figure out, what is it that he wants out of life. What's good about him. How can I start to really nurture his vision? Where does he want to go? How can I be that angel on his shoulder and, push him and tell him, not to be scared, don't be afraid, and that you are strong. And for women who are married, I mean, your husbands, what to say to them to, get them going. Them, their personality, their traits. Really get in there and nurture his dreams, nurture his vision. So I think that that's very pivotal in becoming high value. That is something so valuable. It's almost like sleeping with you have your personal life coach that you sleep with every night, that literally, coaches and encourages you every day. So I think that's extremely valuable. And my last thing is something that women hate to hear, which is submission. Okay. And I'm going to read the definition of submission. It says, ready to conform to the authority or will of others, meekly obedient or passive. So, in the context of a marriage, it would be ready to conform to the authority or will of your husband, meekly obedient or passive. And so, before I talk about it, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the definition of submission, what you think about it, and how important is it, Ashley?
Yeah, I actually love talking about this. It's like one of my favorite things. And usually
Mm.
because it is like a really like divisive topic. Like
Mm,
usually you're like on one side of the fence or the other.
Mhm.
So I actually used to be one of those women that if you were to say that to me, honestly, like
uh-oh.
7 years ago, like I would have been like, oh hell no.
Yeah.
Not gonna no man's gonna tell me what,
Yeah.
just like
Right.
that attitude. And I got that, and I think I got a lot of that too. So I was raised by my dad. I have five brothers, so very strong masculine influence, virtually no feminine influence in my life.
Mhm.
And with that is my dad, I mean, I didn't know I had any limits. And I just, I felt powerful and that no one had power over me. I was very independent and probably too confident. It's just my dad's energy just really transferred to me. And I was really, I didn't realize how much that attitude that I carried with me really showed up in failed relationships and failed interactions with men. And how that really, it was confusing to me because I wasn't sure, why were things failing? Why were things not working, over and over again? And then me starting to realize, well, I'm the common denominator here. So there must be something that, that I'm doing. Oh, good, you're back. And
Sorry.
so, no, it's okay. And so within that, I went through a period of my life where I really did some soul searching for about a couple of years and really trying to learn about myself. I felt very disconnected from myself. And what I really came down to understand is that I was very uncomfortable and almost just fearful of my femininity because I had this idea that femininity was weakness and that it's dangerous and it's not safe to be vulnerable and to be soft. People will take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I was raised. And I was raised like one of my brothers, and that's a trait men have, don't be weak, don't show weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Be tough, be strong. And so no fault, of anyone. My dad is amazing, did the best he could and did a great job. But it was failing me later in life. And I was starting to have failed relationships and it was becoming painful. And so when I started to realize that I had this really strong disconnection to my femininity, it actually really, everything kind of happened in a very divine timing. I met who I'm with now, and being with somebody who is so strong and confident and solid in their masculine, as a woman, you almost don't have a choice. It like pulls it right out of you. Like
Yeah.
pulls it right out of you where you naturally become submissive. And when you're with somebody and you can be honest with that person and you know that that person only has good intentions for you and that they love you, it makes everything so much easier. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. And even to this day, I like to call it like a little flare up,
Mm-hmm.
especially if I come from work and I'm around men all day or I'm, in contracts or negotiations, then I come through the door. Sometimes I'm still coming home in that masculine energy. And he's like, bring it down. Don't forget you just came home,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, Val, that reminded me, like when you're talking about taking a bath, like for me, because I am out in the world with men and in that energy, I have to be almost like ritualistic when I come home about coming back down because that's actually where I'm my happiest. I look forward to it all day. I'm like, man, I can't wait to come home because then I get to be myself. It's like coming home and taking a breath, getting to truly be in my feminine, and I don't have to be on guard. That's not my job. I came through the door. I did my job today. I'm going to do my actual job, and whatever that is around the house or getting things ready. So that is something that a lot of women miss out on because they have this preconceived notion of what submission actually is in a relationship. And it breaks my heart. And that's actually a huge part of why I also really have this mission and drive to help other women is it's so freeing. And if
Mm-hmm.
I can help even just one more woman in the world feel that feeling, then I feel like I've done my job.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like the work that your husband, along with other men, are doing are so important because masculinity is important. Like you said, when you met your husband, with him being so masculine, it's like naturally you fall into it versus women who have to like they have to work hard to be submissive, and that's kind of how it was in my last marriage. And he's a great guy, a great father, but he had a more passive personality. And I'm more of a man, I'm naturally like a take the lead kind of person. I can be you know impulsive, and and so with him I had to like I had to work really hard to try to be like submissive, like really, really hard, but it's insanely difficult. And so, but with masculine men, it comes more naturally. So, my husband now, because he's masculine, it's more natural for me. Like uh even when like we're in like a if we're in a heated discussion and he's going and going and even naturally I'll say, may I say something, and I'll just put up my finger, may I ask something, whereas maybe with my last husband I would just like jump in and just be cutting them off all the time. But I just think naturally, it's not even something that I have to think about all the time. It comes natural. So it's important, not only important that women have accountability, but also for men, because when men become more masculine, it makes the submission part easier. We don't have to work as hard. But Valerie, what do you think? What do you think of the what do you think of yeah, what do you think of submission?
See, with my last husband, like you, he was just a workaholic, and he was passive, and it was easy for me to just be a leader. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, do this. He never he never put me in my place. When as a woman, I'm wild, like I'm just gonna go and go and go and figure it out. But if he was masculine, he would have, led, and maybe the dynamic would have been different. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
Um, so I have dated somebody who is very masculine, and that flow was just a beautiful flow. Like it in our dating, it was so intimate. There was times where I was naturally submissive to him. Um, in just, certain restaurants, or like, I didn't have to take the lead in anything. And that felt wonderful. It
Mm,
is wonderful to not have to take the lead and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It was him, let's do this. What do you think about this? Yes, yes, yes,
mm,
So I look forward to that. But like Ashley, back in the day, somebody said submissive, submissive. What? Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Who
mm,
does he think he is?
mm.
Who is it? And that's the mentality I had. Um, but now I'm experienced, and I'm in my femininity. It's a beautiful thing to be submissive. It's natural. It actually is natural. I don't have to work at it. with
Right.
my with that man I was dating. I didn't have to work at it. I
Mhm.
had to pull it back a little bit because we were just dating. So there was a fine line there in what's too much, you
Mm.
know. Um, but I think submission is a beautiful thing. It's natural, um, and it's what we like.
Yeah.
It's what we like. Like I said, we are wild. I know I'm wild. I'll make a decision on a whim, and later on I'll be like, why did I make that decision? And a
Mhm.
man will come in, a masculine man will have reason. He will have more knowledge. It's not an instinct. It's the man of a mind, or the mind of a man. The masculine man is a great thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And like I was telling you, Ashley, even when, and I'm pretty sure you've all have had this experience, and it's even been depicted in movies, like when that masculine man walks in the room, like even biologically, the woman's juices start to flow. So biologically, something good happens on the inside when we are in the presence of a masculine man, versus I think all three of us on here have experience with being with more weaker, more passive men. And that thing on the inside, it doesn't happen. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's broken. It doesn't work. So, um, you know, it encourages childbirth. It encourages, building a family. Um, and that's something I literally thought of, Ashley, when we were talking last time. I'm like, even that happens, when a masculine man is present and when he's really, taking the lead. It's something that women need. And I think in theory, a lot of women out here will say that, I want a man that's going to cater to me, treat me like a queen, and give me what I want. And in theory, that it sounds so good. In theory, I think when I first heard it, I'm like, yeah, like that's what I want too. But when you actually get it, you realize that, I don't like this actually isn't what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out after some failed relationships, or maybe one or two failed marriages, that okay, this is what we need. And that's why I think these platforms are so important, because now, the younger women, they don't really have to go through what we went through, because we're not like those women who are saying, a man should treat you like a queen, this. Now we're saying the opposite. We're saying, no, you need to find a man that you can treat like a king. You need to find a man who's masculine. You need to find a man who can lead, who has wisdom. I wasn't hearing that before. I was just hearing that you need a servant. He needs to
Yeah.
be serving you. He needs to be groveling at your feet. He needs to be bringing you roses. He needs to be taking you on shopping sprees. He needs to be giving you money. Whatever you want to do, that's what he needs to do. So, and that was a piece of bad advice that I was getting from modern women that led me astray. So as women, it's so sad that we had to go through this trial and error, because now a generation is messed up because of it, because of the third wave of feminism. Now fathers are not in the home, which has produced a whole host of problems. Now you have a generation of kids that are not good people, and who knows what they'll produce, all because, women, which, like Ashley, me and you were talking about, we agree with the first wave feminism. We want to own some property, we want to have bank accounts, we want to, vote, we want to have some rights, it's necessary. But that second and third wave that said that we don't need men, period, that really messed this generation up. So we have to think about these things when we hear women speak, because women have already led us astray once.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be very cognizant of what we allow to go into our brains, into our subconscious, because we are already in this mess because of what we heard and what we allowed and what we listened to. So now we need to change some things around and do some things right, not only for the sake of us, but for other women who are watching and who are also looking for guidance.
Yeah, that
I
reminds me,
agree.
Ashley. I think that you're so right in that, is that there is, a big generation that's coming up where they're so far removed from like that traditional structure,
Mhm.
if you think about it, like going through like the
Uh-oh, I
Too
think
froze.
we lost you, Ashley. Anyway, she'll come back. She froze a few times and came back.
important here is,
Oh,
Here she
oh,
comes.
am
oh,
I
you
back?
froze. Okay,
Okay.
you're back. Good.
Okay. What was really huge about that is, this generation, they're missing a huge, they're going to almost miss completely that traditional standard or example that we saw, in our younger years, women's traditional roles, men's traditional roles. And it's not even the nuances of those roles, right? Women are at home and, they take care of the house and the kids, and men work and this and that. It's not even the the details. It's about who you are and how you carry yourself and how you show up in that way. It's who you are internally. Because if
Mhm.
you're a woman now and you think that, okay, the most important thing is for me to get an education and get a career and go out and start my career, and then maybe in my late 30s I'll think about having a kid, and hopefully I'm still fertile by then. Like that is the mentality right now with
Mm.
a lot of women. And
And
I think
freezing
that
eggs.
Yeah, they're freezing eggs. I see commercials all the time. Freezing eggs. It's
Mm,
crazy. The average age right now for first children in like my generation and down is 35, which is wild. Like it jumped 3 years in a 2 year span, which is huge.
mm,
Huge, huge.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so what I think is huge and most important here for us as women, like ourselves, is not only to just lead by example, but use your femininity. And part of being in our feminine energy is being a guide, not a leader, but a guide. And
Hmm.
I think that we have an opportunity to really be a guide for young women or other women that are in our lives. And we do that not only just by leading through example, but just small offerings, you
Yeah.
know, small conversations one at a time,
Hmm.
checking in with them,
Absolutely.
seeing how they're feeling. And if they are kind of in that mental trap of what they believe, society tells them to believe, like today, right? I'm a queen and you should do all these things for me, or, just that, or, all men are dogs, whatever that mentality is.
Hmm.
It's really easy to combat that just with some logic,
Right.
right? Just work it a little bit backwards and don't feel like you have to take it on or change anyone's mind for sure. But
Mhm.
being an example and coming from a place of contribution and wanting to help guide someone back to their true nature is going to have a totally different energy, and you're going to have a lot more success reaching out to more like-minded women that way.
Yeah, 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 and that's so true because you you don't want to be out here like screaming and yelling and debating, but there are ways that you can help women to see things the way they're supposed to be seen. So when it comes to being not even just being more feminine, but really having a deeper respect or appreciation for men, you know, which maybe this is a little sarcastic, but I've often said that, it must be nice to be able to rest in a system that men built and talk so much crap. Because I guarantee you, if we were in ancient times and we were in the wilderness, you would not be saying these things.
Mm-hmm.
Not if we were still on camels and building tents and men having to hunt for food and bring it back and, protect us against wild animals, against other nations coming and taking over our cities. How convenient to talk this crap now when maybe you don't need men like you did in ancient times, but even that is because of men, because they've built such a comfortable system to where women can thrive independently in the system that they built. And so it and I think and I'm stemming this from something that Kevin Samuel said, that he mentioned that men built the world. And this is what kind of got my wheels turning on it. Like, oh my God, that is so true. They literally built the system that we live in. They built the skyscrapers. I mean, even the flooring that we stand on, the tile floor, like things that I didn't even think of before. Like how do they go about making and crafting the hardwood floor? Or what about the tile flooring? Like, how do they make that? Did they have to melt it down, make it flat, shape it? What about the glue that glues the tile to the floor? What about carpet? What about mirrors? Have you ever thought about the science behind mirrors? How are they made? Who thought to make a mirror, and what were we doing before mirrors? So things like that men created, women are taking for granted every day. So we get to practice this feminism while using everything that men have built. And this is what, in the couple of conversations that I've had with women, I've brought to their attention that, you don't appreciate them enough. They may not be perfect, but, you know, women can't survive without men. Men can survive without women, they just can't procreate. But
Mm-hmm.
women cannot survive without men. So just based off of that alone, men deserve that respect. And you should be looking, like the topic is for tonight, how can I become high value? How can I add value to men? if I can look at the world that they've built and really appreciate it, how can I show my appreciation? Because maybe the men today that are alive today, maybe they didn't build the system, but they maintained the system that the previous men built. So if all men drop dead today, all these plants that you see, electric companies, water company, all this is maintained and run by men, to the point where if all women drop dead, all these systems would still continue on. Whereas if all men drop dead, we'd be trying to figure out, how do we get water through the pipeline? What button, do we press? So just off that alone, and it's not to put women down. We are so valuable in other ways, but it's to say that, have a little bit more respect. You want to be treated like a queen and you want all this respect, but look at look at all that men have done and what they continue to maintain, and you have to ask yourself, aren't they the ones who really deserve the respect here? Because I would the electricity, we wouldn't know what to do. So I think that that's something that you can kind of open women's eyes to, and help them to see, to have a little bit more respect, have a little bit more appreciation, and that helps them get in the mindset of, yeah, I do need to be more respectful. I do need to see what I can bring to enhance a man's life. So sorry, I know I just went on a symposium there.
That was good. That
Yeah.
was good.
So, but I really I enjoyed you ladies so much, and I hope that, for those of you that are watching, you're able to take something away from this, whether you are a wife or whether you're single. Focus on what you can bring to the table, whether you're a Bible reader or not. There's a lot of wisdom in the Bible. And one of the things that Jesus said in Matthew is that there's more happiness in giving than in receiving. Receiving does make you happy, but giving is more fulfilling when you focus on the needs of others. I know that that's been my experience. And when I focus on giving to my husband, when I focus on giving to my daughter, it's a fulfilling feeling afterwards. I feel fulfilled. I feel like I've done some good work, versus just focusing, just laying back like, oh my gosh, what is everybody going to do for me? Or, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. And, not, or maybe not being as good of a mom to my child. And you'll find that people feel, you lay the foundation for people to feel more comfortable doing for you when you give to them. So hopefully that's what everybody can take away. And ladies, did y'all have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I just want to say thank you so much, and it is so refreshing to be around like-minded women and getting to share. And
Uh-oh, frozen again. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
any of us are happy.
Okay,
Wait, she's coming back. There she
back.
is.
Okay. Just that I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. Grateful to support other women. I wish that there was something like this when I was starting out my journey, make it a little bit faster. Maybe that's our mission here, is to help other women get to that place faster for themselves, save a little bit of time, and be a resource. So just happy to know two great women like yourselves.
Yeah, you as
As-
well. What about
as
you,
a-
Valerie?
I am very grateful. This is my first live. This is my first talk with other women like-minded in this type of online situation. So I was nervous, but it just flowed. It was great. I am so grateful that I could add to the conversation in my perspective, being divorced and single. But I appreciate both of you guys, and I am glad to have known you.
And thank you for being so open, Valerie, because like I said, that's really important. The mistakes that we've made. I know I've made mistakes in my last marriage, and you've made,
Mhm.
mistakes, and And at some point, one of these live streams, I do want to talk about divorce and what it does to kids, to help women to make better choices, women that are in marriages that have kids, and women who are looking to get married, how to make the best decisions so they can avoid getting, with a man who isn't what he is supposed to be, and I think it's important to have these conversations because, like I said, the women before us, they weren't having these conversations and they started getting divorced, but they weren't talking about
Yeah.
how they added to the problem to help us. They
Mhm.
just blamed the man. So we just followed in their footsteps and did what they did and got the same results. So I think that that's why it's so important that we discuss these things and that we're honest with ourselves, and um, we talk to women about our flaws and what we did wrong, to help them to not make those same mistakes. So I just
I
thank you for
agree.
being so open, just open and
Yeah.
honest. I love an honest woman because, like I said, it's rare because women out here they lie so
Tell me about it. I know that.
much.
I know that.
Well, ladies, thank you so much, guys. So we're gonna get out of here. For those of you on the live stream, all four y'all, thank you so much. This is our first one. So I'm gonna post this to the YouTube channel. So of course, for those who didn't catch it, we'll be able to catch it. And we're going to get out of here, guys. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, ladies. Y'all have a good night, and I will see everyone next Tuesday.
Yes, good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye, Val.
Bye.